a green economy. You can go to the next slide. So if you looked at most of the climate action plans prior to 2017, they rarely focused on underserved communities, and they definitely almost never funded those strategies. So frontline communities with our grassroots partners, we're just tired of always being told, that's a great idea, but there's just not enough money. We would propose projects for energy retrofits, for affordable housing, or for job training for people left out of the current economy. So after being told there's just not enough money, we went about looking for a way to fund these necessary projects. And that's how the Portland Clean Energy Fund was born. So you'll see many of the community groups on this slide here were really the leaders of the steering committee, along with hundreds of other community groups, neighborhood associations, small businesses, labor unions who also strongly supported this vision. And thanks to their hard work, on election night, we were able to PCEF pass on a nearly 2-to-1 basis, highlighting the urgency that Portlanders want to see bold climate action with a focus on equity. So you can flip to the next slide. Thank you. So Measure 26201, or PCEF, was a vote to tax very large corporations their fair share. As you can see on the slide, the PCEF measure is a 1% surcharge on the largest retail corporations making over $1 billion a year. That's billion with a B. So there are no local small businesses in Portland or even medium-sized businesses that are even coming close to breaking the $1 billion barrier. This is the richest of the rich. And the ballot language specifically targeted the top echelon of retail corporations, and that's why we called it 1% from the 1%. And so to be extra clear, the specific language of the ballot measure reads, shall large retailers, which are defined, pay 1% surcharge on Portland revenues to fund clean, renewable energy defined projects and job training. So that is what the voters voted on. Of course, at the time that we won this in 2018, this was pre-pandemic, and the first year in 2019, it generated something like $60 million in revenue, which is within the range of what we were predicting. But none of us could have predicted the massive transformation of our economy and the shift to online retail that started in 2020 with the pandemic and has continued to grow and really reshape our entire economy. Luckily, our PCEF surcharge has been able to capture some of the massive profits from those top billion-dollar retail corporations and funnel it into the Portland Clean Energy Fund to help us take climate action while also offering concrete benefits to the community. We never guaranteed the fund would bring in only $30 to $60 million because that was impossible to say at the time. It was an estimate and the floor at that. We knew then and know today that corporate revenues go up and down. And in a year when corporate revenues go down, we knew that the funds would be less. If the fund brought in less than $30 million, we knew that we couldn't come to the city council necessarily and expect the city council to make the fund whole. In the last few years, particularly since the pandemic, billion-dollar corporations have been doing extremely well. Their businesses have grown, online sales have skyrocketed, and small businesses have closed and gone out of business. PCEF's surging revenues are the canary in the coal mine for our small business community. But it is at least making billion-dollar corporations pay a portion of their fair share to invest in climate action and our local community. And make no mistake, the need for climate investment is urgent and significant. Portland was once recognized globally for its climate action and bringing everything that comes with it, but we were falling behind other cities because of lack of funding. Because of PCEF, Portland is once again leading the way locally and nationally in innovating, leveraging federal dollars, and being a bright spot for the city and our climate work. I'm proud to be part of a community that made PCEF a reality, and I'm proud that PCEF today is able to meaningfully invest in critical city climate infrastructure such as street trees, community resilience hubs, bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, green affordable housing, electrifying the city fleet, and so much more. PCEF is really a testament to the power of the community envisioning what climate justice could look like in Portland and then making it happen. If the community hadn't had the foresight to put this initiative together, the city, our agency budgets, and so much of the climate action happening today would frankly be in a much more painful place. And I just want to appreciate that it took over 3 years of significant community organizing to build up this concept, to build our coalition, to knock on doors, collect signatures, and do all the grassroots work that it took to pass it. PCEF was led by community and continues to be a project that our communities feel a great deal of pride and ownership over. So now I'll pass it to Sam, who can talk a little bit more about how this money is allocated according to our original code language and how that language has been updated. Thank you.
Hey, Sam.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Representative Pham. Good morning, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Sam Barrasso. I'm the Program Manager for the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefits Fund. So I'm going to go through the boring part of walking you all through the original code and the changes so we get a sense for that transformation and what transpired and just the foresight that went into that. As Representative Pham noted, shortly after the passage of the ballot measure in November 2018, and not this council, I think Mayor Wheeler, you would have been the only person present then, in February 2019, the City Council codified the ballot measure 26-201, nearly identically as voters had passed it. The purpose then, and as it generally remains now, was to make grant investments and provide an oversight structure to support equitable climate investments. Now, the eligible fund recipients at the time were tax-exempt nonprofit organizations, and the eligible funding areas, and this is notable, were projects that reduce or sequester greenhouse gas emissions. It was specifically codified within the code that 40 to 60% of the fund would go towards energy efficiency and renewable energy projects, 10 to 15% towards green infrastructure and regenerative agriculture projects, 5% was these other projects that reduce emissions or sequester greenhouse gas emissions but don't fall into the other categories. And then there's 20 to 25% for climate-focused workforce and contractor development projects. So this was the original pie chart that we shared as we communicated what PCEF was intended to fund. Now, the role within the original program structure for this body, the City Council, was to approve or reject grant funding recommendations made by the Portland Clean Energy Fund Committee. The Portland Clean Energy Fund Committee was appointed by the mayor with consent from this body. And specifically, the committee's role was to make funding recommendations to the City Council, to solicit and evaluate funding applications, to nominate new committee members, as well as make recommendations on changes to the program to support its alignment with its original intent. And then the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability's role was to assist the PCEF committee in initiating and implementing the provisions of the code.
Sam, can I jump in here?
Please.
I appreciate the overview of what PCEF is doing out in the community, very much support it. But I'll tell you, the thing that keeps me up at night is exactly what you're talking about, what you just talked about, council's role in terms of managing this program. And I'll tell you, as a policymaker and as a guy who, literally 24 hours from now is going to be asked to vote on some PCEF allocations, a couple of things give me pause. One is, this program is about 7 times larger than it was initially planned. I think if you were to take a look, and I've been on council long enough to see the evolution of PCEF to some degree. If we go back even 3 years ago, I think it basically looked like PCEF was a program managed by planning and sustainability. I think if we step back now and take a look at the budgets, planning and sustainability is almost a bureau attached to PCEF, given the relative size and scope. Something which I'm not completely clear on is the degree to which we have staffed up and created the administrative infrastructure to manage this. And I know you guys have been working really hard. I literally went online and I see you guys are trying to hire now, but just in general, as a policymaker, this thing is huge, and I'm not exactly clear that we have all the administrative infrastructure in place that we need to manage this effectively. And then another piece that goes back to the question of council's role here is, what do I do and how am I supposed to evaluate the program proposals that'll come to council? So, for example, tomorrow we'll have some PCEF proposals that'll come to council around energy efficiency and housing. Really glad to see that move forward. But, I'll tell you, when I price out the unit cost of this, I think we'll have like $150 million on the table. You guys articulate two metrics to basically evaluate those proposals. The number of houses that we can retrofit for energy efficiency and the amount of carbon that we get out of the air. I think when I break down the numbers that we'll look at tomorrow for how much it costs to make homes more energy efficient, I think the number's like $45,000 per house. I recognize it's a little bit more complex, but that number strikes me as being pretty large. And on the other hand, the other metric that you're going to give us tomorrow around the housing piece is the number of how much carbon that we'll remove from the air. And when I do the math there, it looks like we're paying about $933 per metric ton for every to remove carbon from the air. And I'm not an expert in this field, but when I look at it, those numbers strike me as being high, and by a large factor. And I realize these are grants as opposed to procurement, but I'll tell you, if I were a commissioner and I were buying these services, I think if this would have gone, if some of those grants that we're looking at tomorrow had gone through the procurement process, I don't think they would have gotten here, partly just because of the cost per unit. On the other hand, there's more of a democratic, this is what, you see what I'm struggling with, and I don't quite know how to both honor the voters' intent while also being a responsible steward of the vote,
So,
of the
Commissioner,
taxpayers' dollars. Sure.
So thank you. I just want to, so two things I want to, there's a lot to unpack with that, so thank you for flagging. I want to allow Sam to walk through, because I think we'll get to some of the who does what by when type of questions you just asked. So he's just kind of doing, this is like the prelude to the depth, so I just want to acknowledge that. And we do have the item for SP3 coming to council, which is essentially council's authorization for us to go out for an RFP for a contract, not a grant. So in this particular case, we are going through the procurement process, which step one is city council greenlighting the bureau to go do that RFP process.
Right.
So in that case, you do have a lot of line of sight into the first step of this journey, which is not a grant, it'll be a contract.
Okay.
And then fundamentally, I think if you're okay with this, we'll be able to go into the details at that hearing about that particular item, so we can do that. But if you don't mind, I'd love to have Sam continue on to get into some of the questions about structure and council's role and daylighting some of the decisions that you've already made as a council and the ones that are to come.
Absolutely. I'm totally happy to let Sam move on, and I'll also just lay my cards on the table in terms of the policies questions that I'm grappling with in this space. It's largely around this. What's council's role? Just at an administrative basis, I'm not clear that we have how we have staffed up on this, and I'm not sure if we've really had a conversation about what your office should look like given the scope of this particular program. And sometimes when you just kind of take a look at specific allocations here, I feel like council is being asked, there's a public expectation that we would bring less scrutiny to some of these decisions versus a regular procurement decision that I face. And given the scope of the dollars there, I have a little bit of, I'm still not quite sure how to navigate this particular space. So I look forward to your guidance and thoughts on this.
Commissioner Mapps, I appreciate a number of your embedded questions there. I want to just clarify one of your final points about more or less democratic. I'm not sure you got a chance to finish your point there, and I just want to make sure I understand.
Sure. Well, I think there is, as I sit on this side of the table and PCEF proposals come to us, we're asked to, formally what's going here is like PCEF brings recommendations to us, and we're essentially asked to approve or not approve. Certainly, I don't think there is a lot. I haven't seen in our decision-making processes a lot of space to go, I'm not, this price tag strikes me as being kind of large. I don't want to disrespect what the PCEF committee has done. Also not an expert in this, but, in many of the issues that are coming into the space when we're talking transportation. I know a lot, but outside of transportation, I don't know very much. I think that, frankly, the folks in this room would be pretty upset if tomorrow I go, $933 to remove a metric ton of carbon is too much, but the committee says, yes, that this is what we want to do. And how do we navigate this space? And I think, there are lots of ways we can answer this question. I think we haven't really had the meaningful conversation, though. And that's one of the things that I hope can be sparked by having work sessions like this.
I would just submit a related question for us
Sure.
to wrestle with is just, when you go through an annual budget process as a council, we have to make decisions about relative priorities. And one of my challenges, particularly, when we became privy to the access last fall, was just, this didn't feel like a real budget process. And so I just editorialized and riffing off a little bit of your point, but, and I'd like us to keep going, but I just building off of where you're going.
Absolutely. I appreciate your addition. Go ahead, Sam. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. And I think we will get to most of those questions. So just affirming that we'll hold some of the specific questions related to Strategic Program 3. This is clean energy improvements in single-family homes this Thursday, but we'll dive into these other questions. So leading up to what you're going to see in the next set of slides is the pivot, the code update that we made in October of 2022 and the actions and everything that materialized. But I think it's important for this council to understand all of the work that went into the program as we gathered different pieces of information. And so starting with really our RFP number 1, this is our first beta round. It was about 45 grants, 8.8 million. So by overall value, it was fairly small. As folks recall, this was being developed at the start of 2019 and going into 2020 before we fully grasped the scale of what PCEF was going to be. As you all recall, as we went into 2020, there was a whole host of uncertainty in terms of tax revenues. And so this was our first round that had been in development since effectively November of 2019. It was released in 2021, and the average duration on those grants is about 3 years. And so that set sort of our first foundational releasing grants to the community. We came back in 2 subsequent cycles, and really the 2 cycles were parallel to each other. This was the authorization of our Cooling Portland program, which was designed to distribute portable cooling heat pump units to about 15,000 homes, which is well over schedule. And then our RFP number 2, which was awarded in July of 2022, and that was for $117 million for 65 grants. So these were the actions that modeled off of what the community had designed, that the program would disperse and award grant funding to nonprofit organizations. As we went through this, and in this timeline below, you see when staff came on, when the PCEF committee was brought on board, we had the fortune of receiving an early audit on the program. And core to that audit was really picking apart some of the areas of the program that, despite our best intentions to implement the program as designed by the ballot measure, our auditor surfaced really 6 core recommendations to update the program. And a lot of that aligned around how was PCEF, which was designed, if you all recall, in 2017, 2018, but designed after our 2015 Climate Action Plan. And our 2015 Climate Action Plan was designed for government actions. It was designed to revolve around what the city would do. So how was PCEF supporting that work? And there was just a fundamental misalignment. What we had within our code were funding area percentages that at some point also did not make sense as the scale of funding grew larger. And so the core element of the audit recommendations were it's to bring greater alignment between PCEF's investments, its core objectives to do climate action more equitably, and align it with the way that the city's climate action work broadly. And so that really set into motion what I'm going to preview and what we're going to walk through in the next set of slides. But what this graph is intended to show is that work that began really with our first set of community responsive grants in 2021 is still ongoing. Those grants haven't wrapped up yet. Commissioners, we still have at least 4 or 5 grantees that are working on those because they can go up to 5 years. And so, and same goes for our RFP number 2, which is well underway and in motion now. And those on average were about 3.7-year grants on average, but could go up to 5 years. And so that's the work that's still ongoing. That's part of our legacy work before we made the pivot. And so in the next section, I'm really going to talk about the updates, what they did, how they sought to align and address some of the recommendations that can directly the recommendations from our auditor, as well as just lessons learned and the increasing funding forecast. So in early 2022, and seeing some of our forecast growing and coming upon and having our audit recommendations, as well as just taking on our early lessons learned from our program, Commissioner Rubio directed staff to make recommendations for program improvements that would support really 4 objectives. Objective number 1 was to identify changes to enable accelerated funding of carbon reduction projects in alignment with the ballot measure intent. Objective 2 was to draw clearer and more relevant connections between PCEF and the city's carbon reduction goals. Objective 3 was to address administrative and operational needs identified by staff in the PCEF committee. And this is going to get to your point, Commissioner Maps. And then objective 4 was address remaining audit recommendations. So while 1, 2, and 3 addressed several of the audit recommendations, we wanted to make sure we're capturing all of the audit recommendations as we made those changes. And that led to ultimately a package of changes that we brought to a subset of this current city council in October of 2022. Those structural changes to the code, 1, require the development of 5-year climate action plan, which is supposed to connect and overlap and draw the direct connections to the investments that the PCEF would make in the city's climate action work and the climate emergency work plan. 2, as part of those changes, was to directly implement enabling code updates. And we'll talk about what those were. Some of those are expanded eligibility and funding areas. Many of the actions that enabled the city to leverage PCEF in its most recent budget cycle. 3 was to just do some code cleanup. There are also a whole host of inconsistencies and cleanup that we needed to do. And then 4, and this is important, was to establish the initial strategic program and funding priorities. So we needed some guidance as we set out to develop that first plan, and the code changes contain both the mechanism, how we would update the program itself, as well as the initial priorities. And so what I have outlined in green here on this slide are the core changes. So first, the program now is required to have a climate investment plan. Now that squarely dovetails with the audit and setting the stage for how we invest in climate action, making sure that not only the community, not only the committee, but this council and collectively everyone is bought on board into how this program makes its investments. And in that plan, it does require outlining of allocations and programs with measurable goals and outcomes for each of our programs. That is certainly a document that is developed with community. It is developed with the PCEF committee, but is ultimately adopted by this body as the 5-year plan for how we make our investments. 2, we made and expanded the eligible fund recipients. So in addition to tax-exempt nonprofit organizations, government entities could also be direct fund recipients, as well as for-profit entities. But in for-profit entities, they're expressly for program administration. So what you'll see later this week is a procurement RFP for a program administrator, where private entities and others can come in to administer, to bid and administer our programs. And then 3 were expansion of our eligible funding areas. Noticeably absent was transportation decarbonization as a substantive funding area. And so we expanded and added transportation decarbonization as well as capacity building. And then a shifting of the roles. And so one of the core recommendations from the audit was to draw a more clean boundary between the committees, essentially the committee making direct funding recommendations for grant recipients and bringing the committee a level higher. And so they recommend the goals, the actions, the programs at a high level within the climate investment plan. And then you all as a body are responsible for reviewing and approving that or making changes or recommendations on those. You all as a body still make implementation decisions. You do ultimately make the decisions on our grant awards as well as our contract approvals. And then as well as consenting to the mayor's approval. And that remained the same, consenting to the mayor's appointment of committee members. The committee's role moved up into recommending the climate investment plan, making recommended amendments to the plan, recommending committee members, and still maintain their role in evaluating the effectiveness of the program. So what we removed is the committee is no longer involved in the day-to-day of recommending individual grants. That becomes a staff-level operation. And ultimately, we work, there's a fundamental volume of grants. Right now, we are evaluating over 300 grants. in order to make recommendations. So we have to have a system to do so. And it was clear that that was unreasonable to require or request of volunteer committee members to evaluate that many grants. And so we separated where they function, they do the review here and set the goals and make the recommendations in the plan. You all are responsible for ultimately approving, adopting, amending, or making recommendations otherwise. And then staff do the program level evaluation, grant level evaluation.
Sam, I'm going to offer this. And I think it's important right here, Commissioner Mapp, to answer one of your questions about staff build out. So right now, the PCEF staff is about 20. Right now, we'll be at 25 by the end of July. And as just a reminder, when the program started, it was designed to be a grants program. So after these code amendments in 2022, we had to pivot, not forget about the grant program, because as Sam just explained, it's still very robust. But now we had to build new infrastructure in the Bureau to work with our Bureau partners and develop these contracts, not just grants anymore, contracts. So we're going to be expanding to almost doubling in size by the end of next fiscal year to both run the grant program and to partner with the city bureaus and external partners for the complete climate investment plan. So we are scaling up, bringing in more data analysts, more financial advisors, more budget savants to help us build out the core infrastructure of what it is to run the fund in its current model. And that didn't really get started until after this code update, because that gave us the authority to expand our staffing size to meet this new demand.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Mavs.
I'd love it if you could shoot me a org chart or the aspirational org chart for what this is going to look like in the next fiscal year. I know there's a lot of change in this space, and I like the direction you're going in. It's not at all obvious, frankly, if you look at the budget documents.
Totally.
How we're managing this space. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner Gonzalez.
No, go ahead. If you have.
I forgot to acknowledge that PCEF is also providing resources to procurement, to the revenue division for next fiscal year CBO, and perhaps even our human resources office as well to support the not just BPS's PCEF infrastructure, but all the bureaus that you'll see very shortly are receiving a healthy portion of the fund these days, or will be.
Thanks.
And is that done as a bill back from the city to PCEF, or what's the mechanism for the flow? So just talking about staffing, what's your cost recover model? Is that coming out of general fund to support that, or just walk me through how that works from a city staff perspective?
We have our CBO director here. Ruth, you want to? Yeah.
I think we just originally we were limited 5% of the administrative of the cap of the program revenues overall. We fine-tuned that to get greater resolution and track our revenues better. But now we're at a 12% as a function of the overall program. We're certainly tracking well below that, and our administrative expenses are just part of our regular budgeting process. So when we submit our program budget, our decision packages for staffing up, those flow through the regular BPS budget.
So can I make sure I'm going to try and translate what I just heard, and then you tell me what I get wrong. So if PCEF's going to raise $200 million in a year, are you saying 12% of that would be sort of the target administrative charge to PCEF from your bureau? Is that essentially what we're talking to administer the program?
Up to and including the whole host of overhead and everything else, correct?
Yeah, and it's not just for BPS. I mean, I think lots of bureaus have things that are characterized as administrative charges, including, the way the bureaus who are receiving PCEF funding within the city, build sort of city overhead expenses into the costs that could count towards their administrative piece. But and then sorry, for the record, my name is Ruth Levine. I'm the interim budget director. In terms of the mechanism, I just think it's worth kind of noting that we're in a bit of a shift in terms of like how we're budgeting PCEF within city bureaus. So I think originally PCEF had interagency agreements, IAs, where they needed other bureaus' support, or where they were providing resources to other bureaus for specific programs. That's shifting now to be what we call direct budgeting within the PCEF fund, within its Fund 229. And so each bureau that's receiving PCEF funding will actually budget that into what we call a sub-fund within the PCEF fund. So we're CBO and accounting and other folks are working closely with the PCEF team to kind of develop that infrastructure and make sure that we have all the transparency and accountability and sort of internal controls in place to make sure that that works. But that's a shift that we're sort of in the process of right now, just to aid kind of administration and sort of, accurate budgeting.
Okay, and so the mechanism, one last question, I'll turn over to whoever else has questions, we can keep moving, but the new staff apparatus that does the essential first assessment of applicants inside of BPS, does that same process essentially apply for city bureaus that are interested in availing themselves of funds? So so if there's a bureau that thinks they should get PCEF dollars, their first stop is BPS for funding.
Correct. As we have relevant funding opportunities, correct.
And oftentimes, Commissioner, just to put a finer point on that, there's oftentimes it's a collaborative space when we talk about the city's climate work. So these aren't typically ideas that are coming out of thin air. Like, so we have a city climate emergency work plan. So we work with whether transportation or parks, and we're identifying the eligibility and the potential funding for PCEF. And just to remind everybody, this is a relatively new model for us. So historically, 100% of the resources went out the door, and it's only in the last since the code was updated in 22, but really after the CIP was adopted, that we started looking at that synergy for the funds to be leveraged by city bureaus. So to Ruth's point, this is really our first budget cycle where we thought about how PCEF was going to be incorporated into the budget process versus historically we used interagency agreements.
No, it's helpful, Donnie. And if I were to take a step back, one of the biggest challenges for us as a community is, we don't have a sales tax in our area. Mm-hmm. This is a stable source of revenue. So when we're talking about particularly revenue generating to support city bureaus, if you were to take a step back, is this really the best way to do it, starting from scratch? Now, if it aligns with a climate plan for the city, I understand the argument, but that's where my head is with the heavy tax burden in the region, the lack of sales tax to support city programs over the long haul. Is this really the optimal way to allocate resources for a bureau as a first stop in another bureau to get those dollars? And that's not a critique of you guys. It's a bigger picture question.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. We'll continue on because I think we want to unpack that a little bit. The bureau is our program design is to implement the city code.
Yep.
Right, and as the
Totally
code is currently allocates, we have particular funding areas that we focus on. And then even after, Sam mentioned this, but the auditor's report was really clear that we need to ensure that the funding categories, even in a subcategory, if you will, were aligned with our adopted climate action plans. So that doesn't come from BPS. That is work that is owned and stewarded across the whole city, not just city bureaus, but external partners as well. So we are drawing from a rich subject matter expertise in our community, and our city, in our city government that is informing how these dollars are being spent. But sorry, Commissioner Ryan, you had your hand up patiently for a while.
Thank you. Good presentation so far. Donnie, just a real quick clarification question on revised code, eligible fund recipients on the for-profit entities. Let me just explain it this way. So one of the better, more concrete actions that I think are taking place are working with communities that need to have upgrades to HVAC systems, the climate emergencies that extreme weather we're experiencing is persistent. And so getting that out there, it's ready. And we have a lot of providers in the profit space, small business contractors, BIPOC-led, that could do that work. So when I read this, I question, they're not eligible?
Here's the maybe the core difference when we made that pivot. Prior to the pivot, our model was distributing funding to individual nonprofit organizations. Mm-hmm. There's a function of scale that is limited in that model. And so as we made the pivot and we said we're going to have this plan, the plan really has two structures within it. It allows for a continuation of our community responsive grants. That is our origin story. But then there's a space where we want to still, in service to the community, design programs that are more city administered. And in this instance, they're going to be more top down. We're going to be seeking to retrofit, in the program you'll see later this week, 3,100 homes over the next 5 years.
How many?
3,100 homes. And that's significant deep energy retrofits. That's one example you'll see. And in that model, there isn't necessarily, and there may be several groups that can come together, but we know that there is a robust network of for-profit entities that have a history of administering utility programs and other programs that come in and operate these sorts of programs, have the regular capacity, ability to scale up. And so it's not to say that small contractors that you just described won't ultimately be the implementers and the ones going out and doing those installations. But as a core program administrator that we as a city contract with, that has the responsibility for providing the reporting, the invoicing, and everything else, the communications, the branding for the program, we have the ability to go out and seek not just nonprofit entities, but government entities and for-profit entities to administer those. The end result, though, at the end is working with small contractors. Vast majority of our resources go through small contractors that are doing the actual work.
That was a yes.
So, yes. Sorry, that's
Okay. It was good for me to get all of that context.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. So I think what I want to capture here is that there's been a lengthy series of council actions that have taken place on PCEF, both starting with the original codifying of the code in February 2019, original bringing on our committee members, refining the code, if folks recall, in December of 2019. And then, and what I've got highlighted here is all the actions that this body has taken to authorize, in some way, funding and making funding allocations, whether through grant awards or whether through adopting the climate investment plan, and or as most recently, last week, the approving and authorizing the intergovernmental agreements with our public schools. And so we have been no stranger to coming to council for a series of actions, and we will continue to come before council, as you'll see in the next series of slides. And so in this next bit, what I want to just do is ground folks in some of the prior words we have made before really pivoting to what does the broader picture look like as we look at the overall allocations of the program as it stands today and as it looks in the future, so you all can get a sense for what's that fuller picture looking like? We've certainly come to you all many instances, but we know that we've had to be responsive to a whole series of actions, including additional funds, and it's important you see how that looks today. So again, in just a different way, prior to the adoption of the climate investment plan, we released and awarded a few different RFPs, and those really functioned out of our community responsive grants. What we're moving into now, and which you'll see a lot more action from us, is our strategic programs. But in this next 4 lists, what you'll see is these are some of the organizations that have received funding from the program. And so it's about four slides here. And so what you'll see is there are organizations, many of which I think are that have received as small as in this list, 20,000, and certainly as high as 10 million. Those tend to be fewer and far between. In this list here, you'll see what's notable in this group is this does have the Cooling Portland program that was a grant to Earth Advantage. Now that came outside of our sort of community responsive grant path, but it is a grant nonetheless to a community partner. Another one you see here that's substantive is Hacienda CDC. They're retrofitting 5 of their buildings and retrofitting something on the nearly 300 units across those buildings over the next 5 years. And this list here, so you'll just get a sense of the diversity of project sizes, where we certainly have many projects that range in the realm of a few $100,000 to several million as we've got larger scale projects. And this is the last slide on this deck here that just shows an additional, the last set of grantees that have come through our community responsive grant rounds. And so across these, we have awarded over $140 million in total awards. Now, again, this was prior to the climate investment plan. So there's a question of scale here that we will argue clearly is laid out, are achieving that scale within the climate investment plan. But all of this work happened before the climate investment plan, when we operated as we originally designed to distribute grant funding to individual nonprofits. We awarded funding to 73 organizations, over 73, and over 103 grants. And in this, we have clearly seen and demonstrated capacity growth and scaling up of our implementation partners, where folks were doing a handful of home retrofits a year, and now they're surpassing and expected to exceed our goals. What it's just intended to show is that it takes time to develop this capacity, and we are seeing that clearly happening. We've just been at this for a few years now. Additionally, we are growing our contractor base, and that base is not only critical for our projects, it is critical for this community being able to leverage Inflation Reduction Act resources and other resources. Us coming out earlier and investing those resources and priming the pipeline and bringing contractors in the space makes us more ready to tap into those funds. And so what I want to now with that is set the stage for what's to come and what do the overall funding pictures look like, particularly as we look at the city bureaus. Oh. Commissioner Ryan, do you still have your hand up, or is that from earlier?
Oh, that's.
Okay.
There's a problem with that.
Noted.
Takes so long to get called on when you put it on.
Just keep it up. Keep it up. All right. So in this next bit, I'm going to ground you. And again, so as we step back and look at what is now projected to be $1.3 billion, how does that look? What is the overall picture? So again, this body took action in adopting the climate investment plan in September of 2023, allocating $750 million. Obviously, there's a robust 9-month process that got set into motion with the October 2022 code changes.
Donnie, could just because it is confusing, can you state over what time period? When people see a $1.3 billion allocation?
Thank you. That number is,
and I have to be careful about that too. We all need to be clear that this is over multiple years.
it's an important, it is actually really important. And I think the reason we've always operated in a 5-year timeframe is in order to develop programs, in order so that we're not hopping this place, that place year to year, that it takes that sort of horizon for us. As you all know, our procurement timelines take a long time. Developing, building out programs takes a while. So we've always operated on a 5-year horizon. That's the plan horizon.
People don't know that.
Yep.
You know it, I know
Yep.
it.
And so that 1.3 billion is a 5-year number. It is not an annual number. And the $750 million in the climate investment plan is also a 5-year figure. And so the plan sets into motion 5 years of investments.
Starting what year?
Starting 2020, it's effectively the beginning of this year,
So from 2024 through
2028, end of 2028.
end of 2028.
And I'm going to use this moment because we're talking about it in this way. The $1.3 billion also includes projected revenues. This is not revenues in our coffers, not just today. It includes revenues going through that same 5-year projection, Mayor. So when we talk about 1.3 million, we're also talking about allocations that we've committed that we technically don't have in our coffers today. Just keep that in mind as well.
That was helpful.
Thank you. And so within the investment plan, I know we've broken this out in many different ways, but we thought it was really helpful just to show sort of how the allocation split across both between RFPs that we will come back to you all to seek approval for. So about 302 million of the plan will go out via procurement RFPs. About 207 million that was set within the plan is going to be distributed to city bureaus through what we will figure out the equivalent of our interagency agreement structure. And then we'll have about 190 as competitive grants. These are community responsive grants to nonprofit organizations, and about 50 million, which you all authorized last week, to our public schools. Now, importantly, following that, shortly afterwards, as you all know, we understood that we were projected to bring in substantially more over that same 5-year period. So 540 million in additional funds over the 5-year period. So not a one-time, but over a 5-year period. And so what that set into motion is, with Commissioner Rubio's direction, how can we leverage the existing work done within the city? Because as you all know, as we went through the climate investment plan, and Commissioner Maps knows as well as the mayor and others, we knew that city bureaus had many actions. And as part of our pivot, we needed to focus the climate investment plan, and that's exactly what we did. But we knew there was additional actions within our city bureaus and our city partners. And so we went back to the climate emergency work plan. We called in the bureaus that had been called out as having actions as part of that climate emergency work plan, and we requested that they submit projects. Now, we will admit, we gave them a short window of time. We did not want we know the capacity of our bureaus to dream up big projects. But what was important is we needed to understand what they could do tomorrow. And that was critical because we understood they have immediate needs and we understood we were moving into an incredibly challenging budget cycle. And so for us, we called them in a short window and said, please submit your climate emergency work plan projects that you think are eligible for PCEF funds. Staff then shortlisted the projects based on criteria I will show in a second, based on just basic eligibility. Are these projects going to reduce emissions? Are they going to create some community benefits? And then we had some prioritization criteria, which were certainly guided by what we understood was necessary for this coming budget cycle. We then submitted those projects to our city budget office for review to understand how they aligned with the budget and how they contributed to any general fund offsets. And then ultimately, we took that package and shortlisted those to the PCEF committee, which discussed, deliberated, amended the package, and ultimately made a recommendation that made its way into the mayor's proposed budget. Now, the eligibility criteria, importantly, were fairly simple in some ways. It was that, one, we needed to understand the projects needed to have meaningful greenhouse gas reductions or sequestration. We need to be able to calculate and communicate those impacts and those outcomes and tie that back, because as part of our bringing these into the climate investment plan eventually, we need to have those clear outcomes and goals. They need to have demonstrable community benefits. Those certainly can take many different shapes and forms. And then we work to prioritize projects that, one, offset some of the general fund, because we certainly understood the budget cycle we were moving into. Two, were shovel ready, that they existed in a capital plan. We know the burden of these resources is important, that we had projects that we could move on tomorrow. And then that they're implementation ready, where there's existing program capacity and or scope. Now, so those are prioritization criteria. We know things like investing in our street canopy are new programs, but we had a solid understanding of what the scope of that project was. So those were the prioritization criteria.
Can I ask a quick question on this? So last fall, we had a work session at the council level around budget priorities using a substantial amount of polling and other data metrics. I think at the top of the list was things like emergency response times, drug use, homelessness, and public safety. Is there any material dollars in the $540 million that flows to public safety? My understanding is essentially zero, but Ruth could probably find some exceptions to that, but.
I'd like to answer that.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. A lot of it's offset. Every dollar that comes into the city must be used in accordance with the rules and requirements of the Clean Energy Fund. So they are all going towards pre-approved categories. Some of those areas had previously been funded with general fund. So we're able to supplant some of that general fund and invest it directly in public safety. But I believe there were actually some very specific climate investments in public safety. One that I just remember off the top of my head, Ruth, and maybe there's others, was around electrical and hybrid vehicles. I think there was maybe $3 million. It was a pretty substantial sum.
Out of the $540 million from the fall?
Well, keep in mind, public safety would not be held whole without the PCEF dollars.
I totally get that point. I just want to make sure I'm following. So the $540 million, $83 million went to EVs for public safety?
Well,
Three.
if you're asking me directly, it sounds like you're not interested how much funding is available to public safety because of PCEF coming to the city. It sounds like you're asking me very specifically which dollars were allocated directly to public safety bureaus.
Out of the $540
Right,
million.
and I think there frankly are minimal opportunities that actually coexist with the requirements of the fund. But one that I can think of is the EV and hybrid vehicle issue.
And Commissioner, answer your question. Yeah, it's $3 million towards for the EV fleet related to the police bureau.
And also fleet, where a lot of our vehicles are maintained. For the first time in 40 years, we're actually able to move into a modern facility, and that also coexisted with
That's correct.
energy funds, as I recall.
That's correct, Mayor. Thank you. And then
There's probably
to answer your question directly, Commissioner, when we were evaluating the potential projects that were, again, meaningful GHG reduction or sequestering opportunities. There just weren't as many in the public safety area. And when we had those early conversations with, I'll just use the Fire Bureau as an example, staff did lean in, but the gap between ideation and reality was just a bit further away than the other projects that we knew that bureaus were ready to go.
And Donnie, I want to remind everyone present that my guidance was very clear, that bureaus were to bring forth ideas where clean energy funds could be used. And let's just be honest, the public safety bureaus brought very little, including the ones that I'm the commissioner in charge of, and perhaps other public safety bureaus where I'm not the commissioner in charge.
Well, that actually brings up really one of the fundamental challenges with the allocation of such a substantial amount of funds. I mean, we talk about specifically EV. It's a good bet in a lot of ways, but there's some trade-offs when we're talking about community resilience and public safety. If we go all in on EV and we have a seismic event, we could be an extended period of time without access to electricity. So in really preparing our community, particularly in public safety, we have to think very clearly about the trade-offs about, just using that example, EV doubling down on that versus a broader mix of energy sources post seismic event. And that's why I really wish we had opportunity for the broader conversation that particularly in public safety and community resiliency. So I just want to make sure I'm hearing that.
Yeah.
I totally hear
That's fair, but what I want to just say is the bigger picture from my perspective is that because of the Clean Energy Fund, we were able to put tens of millions of dollars into public safety that would not have been there but for the Clean Energy Fund.
I totally follow, and I quibbled with the public pronouncement of how we would spend $540 million as a general matter from a budget perspective. I recognize the good work that was done to fill gaps, partially offset with PCEF dollars, totally followed that, and I'm appreciative of it, frankly. What it's leading to, though, is a longer architecture question for the corporate surcharge. Is this really the best way when we're talking about city bureaus to be making long-term budget decisions and the relative trade-offs and that's really what I'm homing in, and not, I had some disagreement with the way the $550 million was announced last year without really meaningful public debate, including among this council, but really looking forward to help inform the public as we think about what's the best allocation of a growing piece of revenue for the community. And I'll leave it at that.
So what I'll add here, appreciate the comments, Commissioners, Mayor Wheeler, is one, think that coming out of that process and some of the announcements, the committee ultimately recommended $382 million. So there's this balance that we will speak to, which is about $158 million. And so I'm going to move to that, and I think then you'll see some just overall slides that give a broader projection, the broader picture and the balance of flow and funds. One, so following that, those deliberations and following what was, a lot of public discourse around these pieces, the committee landed on that $382 million. That does leave about $158 million over the course of 5 years remaining. And so staff worked with the PCEF committee, and the PCEF committee ultimately approved a solicitation framework for what we call the Collaborating for Climate Action funding opportunity. That was released in early April, and it's been out for 6 weeks. It closes this Friday on a 2-stage process where letters of interest are due this Friday. In this instance, recognizing what we had done between our community responsive grants, our climate investment plan, these city climate projects where we had just figured out how to supplant and support those that were critical community needs aligned with PCEF, we wanted to figure out how do we complement those. And so this funding opportunity it's aiming for larger projects that can have high impact multi-stakeholder projects. And fortunately, we've been in dialogue with nearly all of your bureaus, whether that is parks, whether that is Bureau of Environmental Services, PBOT, Water Bureau, Portland Fire and Rescue, and then obviously our internal city bureaus. And so we've had healthy conversations and expect to see letters of interest this coming Friday. And in that, that is calling in, and there is a priority for public-private partnerships. So we will get solely community applications, we'll get collaborative proposals, and that was in the vein of one, we captured what we felt we could reasonably capture within the city that was real within that 382 million. I want to emphasize that a big burden is we've got a range of projects that we're going to implement, and it was important that equal in the same critique we bring to our community partners, that our city bureaus are bringing projects they could implement, And so this funding opportunity is an avenue to capture the balance of funds and do so in a way that brings together community and the city in closer collaboration. And so we expect to brief your offices on those in the coming weeks. And that is a two-stage process where a subset of folks will be called in for full proposals, and those will eventually come to this city council sometime in September. And so stepping back and looking at the cumulative allocations that have been made since the climate investment plan, these are the collective numbers flowing to the city. So when you look at within the climate investment plan, there was about 207 million. If you look at that little box to the right there, 207 million going to city bureaus from the plan, 382 million heading to the city from the recently recommended projects from the committee's recommendations back in February 24, and that totals to 590 million to city bureaus over the next 5 years. And so what you'll see in this pie chart here is that a lot of city bureaus are certainly receiving PCEF funds to implement their climate action projects, the largest of which is Portland Parks and Recreation, and then followed afterwards by the Bureau of Transportation. And so I think I know that we haven't shared this image. You all have seen individual allocations over time, but this is the cumulative sum. And so I make no mistake, there's a significant flow of resources heading to the city for substantive climate work that would not be happening without PCEF. And so as it comes to this body as we move forward, what you all will continue to see is a series of actions related to implementing these programs. So you're going to see grant recommendations come to you all for RFP number 3 later this summer, and we will be briefing you your offices starting likely next month. You are going to see requests for proposal authorizations, ordinances, so that we can get your permission to go out for RFPs for procurement RFPs. So that'll be your first sneak peek on how we're aiming to implement the program and design the contracts for administrators. And then you all will also see our intergovernmental agreements with Portland Parks, with our various school districts, which you already saw, as well as Prosper Portland, and we expect some others. And what I've highlighted below is just council actions, and I've inversed in this instance, council actions that will come before you over the next coming about 4 months, some of which are, the ones that are not highlighted are where you're implementing effectively the climate investment plan, and the highlighted ones are where you're either appointing new committee members or you are amending the climate investment plan to incorporate these recent recommendations that have been recommended and budgeted, or incorporating sort of what comes in this most recent Collaborating for Climate Action funding opportunity. And so I think with that, I'm going to turn back maybe just to sit here on this slide for a moment, because I think I possibly skipped over this a little too soon, and make sure that to see if there are just any questions. We certainly have detailed slides at the back of this that break down the specific programs within each of these bureaus, but want to make sure to see if there's any questions here before I move on.
Yeah, do we have a breakdown of how many jobs this will save at the city?
It's a wonderful
If we
question.
don't, it would be great to get that data.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, my theme today is about workforce.
great. That's certainly a noble data point. Commissioner, the mayor alluded to the general fund offsetting to the tune, about 38.4 million that Commissioner Rubio noted earlier. The other component, because we were able to start this process earlier in the budget process, we were able to fund programs that may have come to council for additional resources. So in some ways, we were preventative. PCEF was preventative in some of these allocations that didn't end up coming to your inbox for a decision point. So that's one piece. But yes, we can certainly get back to the bureaus. In truth, we are still building the bike as we ride it when it comes to these programs, because we're still very much in the budget process. Technically, you all have to adopt the budget to essentially authorize that 383 million to be allocated for next fiscal year. Not all of it, of course, which is the first year of those 5-year allocations. So there's still some, building it as we go, but certainly the labor component is real, and we can get that information.
Thank you.
I have a question for Donnie and well, the whole panel. What's your confidence level about the projected revenues for PCEF over the next 5 years and post-COVID?
I've wanted to shoot different. That's not the right term. Our revenue projections have been painful, as you know, as we've seen the way that they've bumped up the uncertainty, particularly, and it's caused us a lot of pain as a program. We've had to pivot frequently as a result of having projections that were certainly far from accurate. I think what I can say now is we're several years in. Early on in the program, the pandemic happened, right? This program got authorized in 2019. Shortly afterwards, the pandemic happens. Tax filings get delayed by 10 months. These are billion-dollar corporations that file extensions. So we're getting funding in, but not really having a vintage of exactly, is the funding clean energy surcharge funding? Is it carry forward payment? Is it penalty payments? So there was a lot of making sense of that. At this point, there's greater and greater confidence. And I know this is really where our city economist, Peter Hulsman, should be the one speaking to this. But I get the sense that we're getting closer to the real number, but it's still going to take, my guess is another few years before we have the level of precision or accuracy that I assume that you see on the general fund. But I think this is a great question for Ruth to really chime in and give more specifics.
Yeah, happy to chime in as well. I think it is being trued up, I guess, is the way to think about it. And to Sam's point, I mean, even for this past year, I think Peter was, trying to figure out how much of the payments were payments for previously owed taxes, essentially, and how much were represented true tax liability, because that informs, how much we expect to get next year. So he is truing it up. He, as everybody knows, with the 540 million, that was based on an update he did in December of 2023. The April forecast he included in the April general fund forecast. There's a little bit on PCEF, which basically says was also no update on PCEF in April. And so he'll plan to update it again in the fall. But I think we are slowly getting closer to the true line, if that makes sense, and have a better picture of it. Now, I mean, I think there's also a certain amount of corporate profits moderating to some extent, and sort of economic factors moving at the same time that we're kind of getting closer to what the true number is. So all that is to say, I think the level of confidence has grown significantly, and I expect there'll be some more movement in the fall, but that it's getting a lot smoother.
Can I just add something? As a state legislator whose budget also depends on state economists' accurate projections and returning $5.6 billion in a kicker, I feel your pain in terms of the difficulty of accurate economic projections.
Commissioner, the last thing I'll offer for the group, and actually something I wanted to note, is the council adopted the code post-ballot initiative in February of 2019. And at that time, the Revenue Division, who was doing our forecasting, came out with the city's first PCEF forecast to the tune of 79 million. So in a very short amount of time, from the ballot initiative to the city's first forecast, within approximately 4 months, our projections were at 79 million. And then COVID happened, as everybody's articulated the changes. So because this is the first of its kind type of surcharge, we've been sort of in a calibration phase consistently. Having said that, the revenue forecasts have now shifted from the Revenue Division to the City Budget Office. So the methodology is kind of even being tweaked and refined. So our confidence continues to get higher because we have Peter's methodology, and it's starting to see the flattening of that. And the last thing I'll add, we've alluded to, that we've projected out 5 years, both in expenditures but also revenues. So in the event that revenues start to fall, City Council will have to recalibrate our commitments, and that's a real concern about budgeting so far out. But that's our reality. Just wanted to name that because that's sort of an unspoken reality that we're working with right now.
So can you just to follow up on that? So because of the fluctuations in the projection or the changing projections, you've talked about how you relied then on pre-work so that you had ideas ready to go or potential. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And I know that you mentioned it's based in the climate emergency work plan. Can you talk about that? And one more thing, just based on the conversation that we heard today, there are potential projects that you were looking for that were shovel ready or implementation ready versus what might be on the horizon but weren't quite ready this time, but that might still be considered down the road.
Sure. So to the first question about sort of the preemptive planning about a future state of higher forecasts. So when Sam and team were leading the climate investment plan outreach, it was a 9-month, really robust community-led process where we had stakeholders, not just from city bureaus, but other entities, government entities, other partner school districts, really informing the $750 million plan. I think we've said this in many spaces, but that was based on our target of $750 million, but the ideas came in the billions of dollars, right? There were so many great ideas. At some point, we had to put a box around it. But because of that, we were aware that there were really good ideas coming from the city that we just tabled. It just wasn't in the $750 million directly. So we were already thinking, like, in the event that the forecast was much bigger, because that had been the trend, what would it look like to prioritize some of those shovel-ready projects? So that's one. Hopefully that answers your question about. We were working with bureaus from day one. I actually want to use the moment to acknowledge the incredible amount of staff work that came out of not just BPS and the PCEF team, but transportation and parks and BES, Prosper, OMF. The bureaus really leaned in to try to figure out like the ways to utilize and honor the PCEF fund and really change how they're doing business to both reflect the values and objectives of the PCEF, but also invest in the things that many staff around the city want to do. Not just BPS and PCEF staff think about the climate crisis in a very real way, and they wanted to lean in. So I want to thank them, our colleagues around the city, who leaned in with us to make this work. So as we were doing this planning process for the CAP, we were always aware that there were projects that in the event there were more resources could be greenlit in a short amount of time. So that was that first $383 million. And then to answer sort of like the second question, more broadly, Commissioner, I think when we're looking at the fund and the forecast going forward, we need to be able to pivot and iterate. If there's new technology or new priorities, a new climate crisis, how we're going to be responsive to that, like we were with the heat dome. Remember, PCEF really leaned in. It wasn't a program. The Cooling Portland program was in response to a crisis. So there is agility in the system to pivot when necessary to meet our needs of our community. So I think we'll be able to do that as well. Hopefully, there's not a crisis as extreme as the heat dome, but I think we are living in a climate emergency now, so all bets are off for the next thing we're going to experience. And I think PCEF will be at the ready to resource the things that need to get done to protect our communities. Sam, did you want to?
I think the only thing that I would add as we work with our bureaus is there's a lot of great work, as Director Oliveira had noted, and at the same end, a lot of that work substantively was happening in our bureaus that were not necessarily general fund funded. And I think that gets to a legacy of the funding sources that they have, but a lot of it was happening in places like PBOT and Bureau of Environmental Services, in parks that had other funding sources. But it was an interesting exercise as we worked through and said, where are there existing general fund opportunities? And I think that I would say it was noticeable, and yet I think it is why this opportunity, particularly when we talk about fleet, presented a unique opportunity to do things that we know that they had that plan ready to go in terms of electrifying the city's fleet, and we were excited to see that they were so ready for those opportunities, in part because they hadn't had that funding before.
Build off of Commissioner Rubin, did you have any further questions?
No, thank you. Go ahead.
Just building off, maybe using specific the heat dome scenario, but even going up a level. So 1.3 billion in current and pending allocations. We were to speak in really simple terms as to the outcomes for community, high level. What carbon reduction can we expect from this 1.3 billion? One, two, will it change the temperature of the city of Portland? Will it change the temperature of the globe? I don't mean to be flip with that last question, but just to put it in context, what are high level, what do we think we're getting for the 1.3 billion in terms of climate outcomes?
Yeah. It's a wonderful question, Commissioner. I think what I want to preface is PCEF, and not to underestimate that PCEF is significant. Without a doubt, it is absolutely significant. All eyes are on us because of how significant it is. And yet it is still a drop in the bucket. And so what we will say is, one, we do have those outcomes on our climate investment plan. We are still gathering those figures, Commissioner, from the bureaus submitted their narrative reports on what they plan to do, and our staff are evaluating that right now for that 382 million. So we have those figures for the 782 in terms of what sort of emissions reductions we project overall across the plan. I mean, there are areas where explicitly when we're talking about taking over the street tree canopy maintenance and planting, where we can say, yes, in that instance, there will be cooling, there will be urban cooling as we plant our trees. That will take 10, 20 years as those trees planted today mature and create actual shade canopy. So there is substantive work that will materialize in local benefits in terms of household bill reductions, in terms of addressing deferred maintenance. So we can get those figures to you all. But I think obviously when we speak to emissions, it's a global concern. And so there are attributes here specifically. That is why it's the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefits Fund. It's why we're not just investing in solar in Eastern Oregon, where we can get our greatest bang for our buck from emissions perspective. It's why we invest here locally to get those co-benefits, and those we can certainly elaborate on.
Here's the challenge, right? And you hit both sides of it. So the 1.3 billion is a substantial amount of financial investment, but globally it's a drop in the bucket. Even locally, like if you were to look at the impact that the city or the state has to do, it's a bucket in terms of our climate plan as a city. And that sometimes makes it a real challenge to sort of gauge relative investment versus others. If we were to assess the 1.3 billion in job creation, what Commissioner Ryan is getting at, we might find better ways to invest at least a portion of the 1.3 billion if our goal was strictly to create more jobs. And it's that's just the challenge that we're navigating this. It's not to say that some of the 1.3 billion shouldn't, be doing exactly what it's doing. It's just, it's such a large sum for a city budget. And that's all, and I just don't want it to just be performative. We write the check for 1.3 billion and not seeing a meaningful change in the environment for the city of Portland.
Commissioner, I appreciate the question about the impact globally. I would love to offer these things for your consideration as you think about the fund's impact. So beyond just the practical nature of we're the most connected to our communities, to the people on this planet. I think local governments are in the best place to make meaningful impact. And I can speak from my personal experience from the city of San Francisco, being in a mayor's office that worked on climate, and then seeing that mayor subsequently become the governor and give a damn about climate. Just seeing that leadership continue on up the political sphere is real. And so as you all are thinking about how we're solving for climate in Portland, our representatives are thinking about it in Oregon, and that scaling needs to happen. That connective tissue needs to happen between local governments, regional governments, and the federal governments. But let's talk about some more direct benefits to our communities. We mentioned the Cooling Portland program that addressed heat, but the investments in Commissioner Mapps, I'm going to try to tie in your question about SP3 and the ROI on those investments. We're not just transactionally looking at GHG reductions. Yes, it's very important, but as Sam alluded to, these are deep retrofits. These are looking at health and safety standards of these buildings. So the homes that need the most investments just don't need it for energy efficiency. They need it for seismic safety. They need it for health and well-being issues. So the investments PCEF is making is much more broad, much more intersectional. And then the last thing, interjecting $1.3 billion into our community is good for business. It's good for prosperity, wealth generation. These are dollars that are staying within our community in a way that if we were just doing GHG reduction targeted programs, we might just invest in a solar farm in Eastern Oregon. No disrespect to Eastern Oregon, but it's a cheaper GHG reduction moment for us. But that's not the point. The point was to put the dollars to work in our community for Portlanders. And I think that's the power of PCEF. It's not just the climate action, it's the prosperity and the resilience all tied together. Your check is in the mail. Thank you.
That's in lieu of a pay increase.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, actually, Commissioner Ryan, the question about the FTE.
Yeah.
Thank you, staff.
It's just in.
155 FTE are covered through PCEF investments next fiscal year.
Now that's concrete.
And
Thank you.
that's probably just for next fiscal year in terms of what's budgeted. So that, I would assume that is the lower bound because.
I mean, the point is to save jobs to get population level results for climate justice. And so the more that we can align this work that has measurable goals, I'm in. And yes, I get the whole a drop in the bucket. It's more like the ripple. So we have to be the model, and that ripples out. So I understand that. I think my concern has been, one, I'm really glad we're having this session before we do the final budget. I just thought it was so important that we get all this out on the table and have less conversations in private offices. So this is a really good work session. I'm just hoping that we can expedite that process quicker. So is PBG, what's the name of that organization? I always screw up acronyms. PBDJ, right? And organizations like that, are they in the loop so they can get these contracts out to their contractors to expedite this work? Because it's shovel ready, and then that will truly do community-wide benefits to build prosperity.
Please.
Yes, Commissioner Ryan, we are regularly in conversations that have presented at PBDG. We've worked collectively with Latino Build, with the Northwest Native Chamber, the National Association of Minority Contractors. So we've regularly been we've regularly showed up in those places and have been in regular conversations to make sure they understand these opportunities so they can get that word out to their contractors.
That's what I need to hear.
I realized I skipped a slide here. Just to do service to the slide, this was just the overall makeup of that 1.3 billion when you look at sort of how city bureaus are faring compared to the current funding opportunity collaborating for climate action, which is out there currently, closes on Friday, the public schools, our competitive grants to nonprofits, and then our RFPs that will be going out the door over the coming months. So this is that overall breakdown. And as you see, roughly 50% of the funding is going to a combination of the city as well as the public schools.
So I think that did it for our presentation, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is open discussion time.
I'd like to jump in here. Can we go back to the slide that shows decisions that are going to be coming up, or decision points that are going to be coming before council? There we go. Is it, no. I think it was the one with the shading.
Yes.
This is actually helpful. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, two concerns. One is just we have the administrative infrastructure to manage this program, which is pulling in about 7 times the amount of money that we initially expected. And it sounds like we have a plan to ramp up. Certainly, I would appreciate a little bit more background on what our emerging administrative infrastructure looks like. My second question is, when these proposals come to council, what's council's role in voting on individual proposals? And actually, this is kind of helpful. So, for example, I think tomorrow we have the RFP for PS3. This is basically our strategy for making single-family homes more energy efficient. Help me understand and we have several RFPs here. Maybe making explicit what we're doing with the RFP process would probably answer some of my questions. And I don't know if we have explicitly laid out what's happening in this space, how this process works, let's say.
So the broad parameters of Strategic Program 3, Clean Energy Improvements in Single-Family Homes, was laid out within the climate investment plan. And so that spoke to the general, this is the model for the program. Now, so conceptually, you all have given us the go-ahead to go build that program out, right? We didn't want to go build out programs for us to come back here to say, no, that doesn't make sense. So we've been building that, working with stakeholders, PBDG, others to design that program. Now, I think for you all, it's as you review the RFP structure, it doesn't make sense for you all at that level. You are absolutely correct, Commissioner Maps. It is a significant volume of resources we will put out to contract. And so this is for us to get out the door with our RFP. At this point, is the RFP structured appropriately? Are the roles structured appropriately so that when we come back to you all, hopefully 7-8 months from now, after that moment, this is the procurement, cross my fingers for our procurement gods here, that we come back to you on that time frame that you all see the folks that we will be awarding those contracts to, and that you generally have bought in, you understood the structure of that. So I think it's making sure at the front end, you feel good about the way we're putting out that RFP, the way that we're calling it, how we've designed the program beyond the plan itself and gotten that level of resolution. And so that no surprises when we come back and we say, these are our 3 entities that we're going to be awarding the contracts to.
So in terms of drafting the RFP, is that something, is that drafted by staff? Is that drafted by the PCEF committee?
It's drafted by a combination of staff and procurement.
Staff and
DPS,
procurement.
and procurement staff, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Procurement runs the
It's
process.
following the same procurement process that any other contract would, Commissioner. This is not, there's nothing unique for PCEF in this. This is the city procurement process that these funds will be managed through.
That is helpful. So like tomorrow, one of the things you're going to hear me say is some of these price tags strike me as being kind of high, and that is basically an internal administrative conversation that we can have. And I am completely open to the possibility that you guys can convince me that these price points are the right price points for the services that we buy. So this is a conversation that we can have,
And Commissioner, you may daylight things that we need to be more explicit about in the RFP so the proposers understand what we're solving for.
Yep.
So you may be picking up rocks that we haven't yet, so we can, so this is opportunity for council to give staff feedback. So when we push the RFP out, because remember, it's not out yet, that we are reflective of the committee's interests when they pass the CIP or recommend the CIP, but frankly, this council's interest to the sort of standards and expectations you have on the awarding of a $140 million contract. That is 100% appropriate for council to give us feedback on, directives on even, excuse me.
okay, that's helpful. So I think I have a better understanding of how RFPs fit into this process. Maybe I can go, I'm not quite sure, like at some point in the future, I'm taking a look at our second highlighted row there, amend climate investment plan to include the 382 million. What's that process?
So the code, as the code is written, the way that the fund is, the expenditures are allocated is through the CIP. So right now, council has directed $750 million of resources to go out in the variety of strategic initiatives. Recently, the PCEF committee made a recommendation to council for an additional $382 million. So technically, we're in limbo land with that money right now because it's technically just a PCEF recommendation. This council still has to amend the CIP to include that $382 million. And then subsequently, the $150 million that's going out in this new RFP process we're running right now. So when the dust settles, City Council will ultimately amend the CIP to account for the $1.3 billion in resources.
I'm not sure if I tracked all of that, but
So
I'm following.
the simplest way to say it is we technically can't spend the 382 until you all amend the CIP.
Okay.
Does that
Can I
help?
ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Ruth, just to be crystal clear, if we didn't approve that 382 million, what would happen to the city budget this year?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and I was just going to jump in to sort of get at that a little bit. So I think there's the CIP and the budget overlap substantially, but they are slightly different in purpose, right? The CIP is a policy document that lays out overall strategic objectives, goals, et cetera, that Sam talked about. The budget actually allocates the funds, and not all of the 382 in this case or the full 590 that's going to city bureaus is in the 24-25 budget. And that's because some of the amounts that are in there are going to be annual amounts that get allocated each fiscal year. And some of them are one-time amounts, and some of them, they get budgeted on different time horizons depending on the project, I guess I'll say. The budget document does some similar or overlapping work to what's in the CIP, but it doesn't have the full context that the CIP has in terms of what PCEF as a program is spending its money on. The budget document just has the specifics about things like FTE, what are the all the things that we put in the budget in terms of program descriptions, equity impacts, et cetera, in the format that the city budget overall is in. So they they are overlapping, but the numbers are not exactly the same because of the timing nature and the sort of information they're communicating and the purposes of them are slightly different. Does that help at all?
It does to me, and I would submit, Commissioner Maps, you're a very smart man, but if you can figure out how not to vote yes on that 382 million and still get a budget delivered on time, I will buy you a beer.
All right.
And it gets at the more fundamental issue of our real role, right? This comes to council, but I don't know practically how you can vote no and deliver a budget on time. And that gets at the crux of the matter.
And I think in this case, correct me if I'm wrong, you're planning to bring the CIP back after the budget is adopted. So you'll adopt the budget first. That will be the first sort of the 24-25 amounts that are budgeted are a subset of the amounts that are in the CIP. And then you're amending the CIP just to say, and here's the full policy document that describes these amounts.
And Commissioner, I think you're touching on, we started building this thing with Ruth in the fall in real time. We were unpacking new challenges, new opportunities even. So I don't think we would have designed it this way if we'd been given a full runway, a full year in advance. We've learned a lot in this process, of course. In fact, the next phase of this $150 million that's currently out for RFP was informed by it. And we're still going to learn after the dust settles on this, on the FY 24-25 process. But again, I got to give a lot of credit to all the bureaus that leaned in because we were all doing it together. So all the bureau staff, their finance teams really rolled up their sleeves on this because we were building a new process for, to your point, Commissioner Gonzalez, a substantial, investment for the city.
So just to sum up then, just going back to something else I heard earlier, and just so the public has clarity and we have clarity. So aside from the intent of the fund, we're treating this fund just like any other fund in the city. Is that?
As far as the process of,
Yes, like, authorizing it to go out, doing
Yes.
procurement. And that fund is coming to council just like any other fund.
yes,
And we're using procurement in the same ways.
correct.
And there's the same amount of engagement from the bureau side and procurement as any other
Yes.
fund that's expended out. So what is different then in this fund than how we're doing business?
I think the substantial difference is that the code codifies the committee to make recommendations to council directly. So that's one place. But again, city council ultimately makes final decisions on those recommendations and can amend them as needed. And then the second piece is that we are still working in a moment of change in our government. And so that is having an inherent impact on how we're negotiating, like figuring out what things are going to stay in the new form of government and what's going to change. So I want to give a lot of credit to Ruth and her leadership, trying to get us through one fiscal year as we're in the process of changing our budget for another form of government. So there was also just some inherent, what is it going to look like the next time around? So that being said, I think the fund is being treated now in a way that it wasn't in the past, and that we were incorporated into the budget process. And like I said earlier, we still have to make upgrades to that process because the whole thing's changing. Ruth, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I would say what's different is that the forecast was so off, but it's not as painful as the forecast that Representative Palm mentioned earlier. That's just ridiculous that we actually make big, impactful decisions based on a forecast that's wrong, right? So this one, it was wrong, but now we're here having tough conversations about how to take this prosperity and do the right thing with it. And so I see this, I think you're kind of noticing this as a stimulus plan. We're having some challenges in our economy right now. Business licenses are down. There's a good chance that the revenue streams coming into the state, to the general fund, is going to decrease over the next few years. We tend to have lagging indicators on that receipt of those funds. So I just look at this as a great opportunity to do the greenlit, as you mentioned, to really stimulate that economy. So that's why I keep asking about how we can get these out quicker to the contractors out there that could be the ones that are ready to do this shovel-ready work. So Sam, earlier you answered the question, but I'm just curious, how much of those have already been distributed, or is this the next session, next tranche that you will engage the private contractors to do this work that we all know is necessary for our climate?
If I think if we look back to our prior grant disbursements, about 42% of our resources were subcontracted out from nonprofits. And so to the extent that we're talking construction work, it's most likely already getting there. In terms of these next set of resources, this is the start of the climate investment plan. I mean, the strategic program 3 heading to you all Thursday is the most probably substantive one that's going to be relevant to our smaller contractors. And we will get it to them as soon as we can move through our procurement process, land our administrator, and build out our program, which will take a few months after that. So it's still, these are just the processes of both ensuring due diligence to our procurement processes and going through the processes, as you all know, have meaning, they're designed for a reason as they are, but this is the start, I'd say. What you get Thursday is going to be the first program that'll be hitting beyond what we've already been doing with the Housing Bureau, with Portland Parks and Recreation and their Urban Forestry Division. So we've had other programs that have already been moving, but I would say, as we're talking about smaller contractors, probably one of the most substantive ones will be this next opportunity.
And so that's what I'm getting at. So the network like PBDJ, they haven't been engaged yet. Like they haven't offered, their members haven't been able to go to the tranche to do their work to help with this endeavor.
They've been engaged and teed up for the opportunity, but literally the contracts aren't there for them to sign on board to just yet. So we've teed them up and said, hey, folks, be aware this is coming up. Make sure we know that what you need to skill up in order to be ready for this opportunity, so that they know it's coming. So they've been engaged, but in terms of actually contracting with them so they could begin doing this work, we're still a little bit a ways. And most of that work is focused on our prior grants that we had already awarded, where those are still in motion, right? Those are on 5-year cycles. Those are still being implemented. And so we are pulling in some of their contractors that way.
Commissioner, I'll just be really attached to keeping abreast of how we're working with Latino Built and the other organizations that are in the network that I think I'm not frustrated. I just want to hear what the plan is. And it sounds like we have a plan to plan, and so far they haven't yet been able to engage in those contracts.
So the first contract that this council is going to give us the approval for is coming up this week, right? So to this
Okay.
point, it's been.
I'm ahead of my skis.
Yeah. However, I want to acknowledge, I asked Sam to bring the slide back up
I'm okay with that.
because, but it's an important question, Commissioner, because a substantial amount of the resources in this pie chart, or this circle chart, excuse me, are resources going out the door. They're not just staying, there's 155 FTE built in here, but there's far more resources than 155 FTE. So whether it be parks or housing or PBOT, BES even, there's resources going out to contractors for that work, Water Bureau even. So a lot of this money is actually dollars that are going to be, invested in our smaller business and contractor community. So that's where you're going to see, not just from BPS and PCEF, but from all the bureaus activating these resources for those contracts. Does that?
Yeah, that does. And I think, because, I'm just managing my own response to this.
Yeah.
This has been very important for all of us to, we get stopped when we're out just doing life about this issue, and people have various misinformational comments that come at you. That's just called being a public servant.
Yes, I know.
But my point is, I want to know what the next concrete steps are after this session. And I just hope that I can see the trajectory where, unless I hear from consumers and working class families especially who frequent some of these big box stores, that the 1% that has been passed on to them is causing them a lot of hardship, I'm going to be on the side of then workforce and getting this out to build community-wide benefits for those that could be behind this largesse of investment. We don't have a lot of big investments in the city of Portland. We don't have the same investments like the city you came from, San Francisco, or even up north in Seattle. So we have to be so creative in how we implement such an innovative program to do just that, to build prosperity with this green economy, with this investment. And I think my frustration sometimes lies with what is that plan to get those investments out to build concrete results. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate that, and we will absolutely ensure that when we do the report out of this, because remember, these dollars, aside from maybe the 60 million to housing and the 40 million that went to parks already, are dollars that really kick off next fiscal year, right? So you're looking at future investments, but we can certainly add contracts and tracking of that and labor into our IGAs or IAs equivalents with bureaus. And the other piece, I know Sam's going to cringe when I say this, but this summer, we are going to be able to get our dashboard out, our data, about the grants. So you'll be able to see that in real time where those dollars are going. Won't answer your question about the contracts at that point, but you'll start to see, to your question, how those dollars are landing in our communities that have gone out
And
to
that's
them.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it should always be 3 to 5 years. Actually, I believe in a 7-year look at everything, because that's really building capacity and capabilities.
Appreciate
Thanks.
that. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. We'll preview it for the PCEF committee this Thursday. No cringing.
Hang on the deadline. They got a deadline.
I think I have another process question, or maybe I'm asking the same question over and over. So when do individual PCEF grants come to this council for approval through the procurement process versus when do they come because they're recommendations straight from the PCEF committee? Am I confused? Are those two different tracks, or?
They're two different tracks, so I'll speak to those as clear as I can. So we have grants. Grants generally are they're going to fit the sideboards of what they're supposed to intend to do, but they're designed by the organization. They're implemented by the nonprofit organizations. We have our next package of those that'll come to you all later this summer. And that is, and it's similar to some of what you've seen in the past, and we will be briefing you all as we get to that date, so you have a sense for what's coming. And in those instances, you all are, as a body, responsible for approving all of our grant awards. Then we have contracts. Contracts are where we, as a city, are saying we want an entity to deliver us a particular service. And so it's a little different in that we are actually designing and stipulating the specific outcomes of what we want to see. And you're going to see those come steady to you all over the coming months as we both, and that's a two-stage. Any contract over $1 million, we come to you all to seek permission, and then we come back to you all to say, yep, this is the entity that's got the award. And so those will be coming to you all too.
That's helpful, and I think that, on council, we deal with procurement stuff all day, every day. I'm pretty comfortable with how to navigate that space. It's much more rare for council. I can probably think of a couple of examples, but it's fairly rare for council to be asked to approve a set of grants that are basically originated and come from like an outside citizens committee. Can we?
Maybe a difference, just to make sure, as you elaborate there, is that one part of the code change is we did remove the committee from the explicit role of making recommendations on grant awards.
Okay.
Part of that was to separate their responsibilities so they could function more as an oversight body, set the stage for what goals they wanted to see, and so that it didn't have this sort of self-reinforcing mechanism.
Right.
So there's that separation. So staff, external reviewers do the grant reviews, and we'll and we'll recommend those to you. So that won't come from the committee. That will actually come from staff as a recommendation to council. And what I think is going to be really helpful here is just to understand I think we've got a sense, Commissioner, from you around how you want to be engaged in there, but to get a better sense for, as we head to that, knowing that that's going to be later in the summer, July, August, what are the touch points you'll want to see as we get closer to that package?
Okay. I'll tell you, from my point of view, those feels like perhaps, and I'm still, I think, appreciating the subtleties of these two different processes. They feel a little bit like two different muscles. I feel fairly comfortable on the procurement side. We do that every week. And I'm still kind of thinking about my particular role in this space. Would it be anti-democratic, for example, if you're giving out a community grant and I kind of go, this price point strikes me as just wrong, and that's probably where I would come from.
I think it would beg I think the question, to be just blunt about it, would beg the question of, okay, now let's go through all of our other grants and make sure that we're bringing that same critique to those, right? So just so we're bringing that consistent lens. And so I think our job then would to say, how does that price point compare to our other projects? And is there a compelling rationale around why that price point may be higher because they're doing something in a slightly different way? So I don't think I think it's totally within your right to ask that question. I think our job is to make sure that we can either rationalize it, and if not, then we need to have a conversation with that grantee around how do we make that adjustment.
Rep. Pham, can I ask you, I mean, you've been involved on the grassroots, helping stand this up, helping stand up this program. It's evolved a lot from early days. You know, we kind of have two different tracks here, one on the procurement side, one on the grant side. Do you have any thoughts on council's role on the grant side? Or it's fine if you don't. You know, this is very much in the weeds. I'm just trying to figure out how to mindfully do my job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think from what I've heard from communities over and over is just the need to make sure that we have concrete community benefits beyond just the greenhouse gas emissions reductions. And I think we recognize that cost wasn't the only metric by which we would get that, especially when it comes to equity. It sometimes costs more to build the capacity of groups that have been systematically marginalized from the green economy and all these other things. So I think I would say the community would want the council to hold those values. I think we're comfortable with the structure that's set, but want to make sure that it's not just a purely financial metric, but it captures the public health when people don't have asthma in their home anymore because they have these HVAC systems that are energy efficient. There's multiple benefits that aren't always captured in a strict cost-benefit analysis.
Sure. But at the same time, you and I are both electeds. And there is, I think, a broad expectation that we would be careful stewards of the taxpayer dollars and whatnot. So, and frankly, all this stuff is good stuff. Typically where sometimes I see a proposed allocation that does give me pause is where the price point just seems really high. So there, according to some numbers, and we'll have this conversation tomorrow, but, in some instances, you could see us, perhaps pay 10 times what the average might look like, or depending on which baseline you might want to use, 60 times the baseline.
For carbon reductions or for housing?
Sure, like a great example, and we can get into this. We have a proposal on the table tomorrow for energy efficient housing. It looks like if you break it down, we're going to be spending about $933 per metric ton to get carbon out of the air. I can certainly, when I kind of do my little Googling and say, to find out how much it should cost to get a metric ton of carbon out of the air, typically the number I get back is a lot lower. And I don't want to litigate tomorrow until tomorrow. But, as a guy who has a responsibility to kind of at least do oversight and due diligence on books,
Thank you for clarifying that. I think the cost of carbon is debated. People talk about the social cost of carbon.
Sure.
And because, of course, we could invest in a wind farm in Canada,
Right.
Which might be cheaper, but it doesn't localize the benefits. So if we invest in electric school buses, electric fleets, that actually brings the surrounding community then has less air pollution, less asthma, and kids can breathe easier. So I would like to see the measurements that actually include the social cost of carbon. And yeah, I'll leave it to Sam and Donnie if they want to add more.
So Commissioner, I want to just hopefully make a real fine point on this. When it comes let's use tomorrow because it's happening, it's real time. As council, you can direct us because we're going out for an RFP.
Yeah.
To put these parameters on, and then to Sam's point, it'll be our job to give you the opportunity costs or the impacts of, let's just use the ROI on GHG per ton. You want us to drop it down, and we'll come back to you and say, if we do that, Commissioner, here's the reductions, additional co-benefits that we're going to see with that, right? So there's that piece. So that's the RFP process. That's, as you know, it's a procurement process. We'll run that. We'll ask people to come in with their expertise and ability to deliver, and we'll pick the appropriate, service provider. When it comes to grants, though, we're asking our communities for their biggest and brightest ideas in a given process. So those are going to range in different ROI because they're they're solving for a variety of different, within the code's parameters, a variety of different, issues to solve for. So in that case, to your point, it's like any other grant, whether it comes from parks or the children's levy, this council can deliberate the merits of them, but at the end of the day, we're asking our community partners to submit their ideas to us. That's the inherent in a grant program, right? So it's always we can ask for refinements, of course, in the final grant agreements, but ultimately we are putting that RFP out there. And the last thing I want to just say about this entirely is to your offices who have already engaged from day one, thank you so much. We are always willing to brainstorm with council staff who want to lean in. There's plenty of work to go around. More eyeballs and minds on it is not a bad thing. So I want to encourage that we'll continue to keep that door open because we appreciate the feedback every step of the way.
Let me jump in, and I appreciate this, and I appreciate the conversation and the tone of the conversation today, too. And let me tell you one of the reasons why, especially staff who I talk to all the time, and one of the reasons why I go back to the basically how much we're paying functionally per metric ton of carbon that we get out of the air is we do have these goals. So I'm the commissioner in charge of transportation, and folks are expecting me to reduce carbon emissions from transportation space by like half in the next 6 years. Something that's just really hard, and we only have so many dollars to do it. And if we pay too much, I'm not sure how we actually realistically are going to hit our goals. And, I'm just taking a look. You guys have a really handy, well, I'm looking at some planning and sustainability documents. Looks like we're trying to reduce greenhouse gases produced from electricity in existing homes by essentially half in the next, by 2030. And these are kind of, basically we're talking about the dollars that we're going to be spending tomorrow. And I'm not sure if we have enough money to, knock off about 300,000 tons, I think, is kind of what we're trying to get just for electricity, just for existing homes and whatnot. So it's a math puzzle. It's a budgeting puzzle, I think, if we're actually going to take our strategic goals seriously.
Go ahead, Ron.
And I'm sorry to jump in here, but I know people want to have some closing thoughts too, so I'm going to take a chair's prerogative here. I understand there'll be lots of other questions and follow-up and discussion to be had. What I'd propose is we just go through the council first and ask if anybody has closing comments. I know I do. Representative Fountain, I want to make sure you have an opportunity to give your wrap-up as well, and then we'll finish it off with Commissioner Rubio. So at this point, I'll ask if anybody has any other thoughts. Commissioner
I'll
Ryan?
say a couple things, Jan.
Sure, you bet.
First of all, this is a great conversation. I know I said that earlier, but we really needed this. And as Portland Parks Commissioner, I just see so much alignment with the PCEF and Portland Parks and Recreation, and they both strive to elevate community, reduce carbon emissions, and create climate resilient city. It's just allowing a service that we've needed to do for some time, which is managing the street trees, especially for households who cannot afford to do that expensive task. And we put that burden on them, and it's been a punitive process for years. So to think that we're loosening the soil, so to speak, to finally do what a lot of cities provide, which is street tree maintenance, is a big deal. So I want to thank you and Director Long, Commissioner Rubio's office, for that partnership. And I also want to say I think the language pain maybe should be that this is a really prosperous opportunity, and we just have to get it right. And I appreciate that you listened to me explain how important it is to let the marketplace big picture be more involved in this so we can actually get better climate results and bring much needed prosperity to the same communities that were identified when this came. And congratulations for the 3 years of work that it took. It was great to actually hear the history in such a succinct way, Representative Vaughn. So thank you. That's all. And I do look forward to the next meeting. I feel like I have more clarity and vision now as we go forward.
Appreciate the discussion. Thanks so much.
Commissioner Maps?
I want to thank staff. Well, first, I want to thank everyone who showed up and has been a witness in the audience. We all know that this is an incredibly important conversation and an important program. I want to thank everyone who helped us get here today. I very much appreciated the dialogue. I've had, as I've mentioned, two longstanding or continuing concerns. Number one, are we staffed up appropriately to manage what has turned out to be a much bigger program than we thought? And then I've been seeking some clarity about council's role in, frankly, approving or disapproving specific proposals. And frankly, I have a much deeper appreciation of how how the process has evolved. And I have to say, I very much think we're moving in the right direction. And then there's the third piece, which I only got to in the end, is number one, are we finding the right balance here? The great news is, I think planning and sustainability has done a lot of great work. We have some pretty clear goals. We have some resources here. I do think that smart people and planning and sustainability is filled with lots of smart people, and there's some smart people on this council too. I do think that if we make these investments wisely, we can at least optimize them. I'm not sure if we have enough resources on the table to actually meet our climate goals, and that's a reality that I think we're going to have to come to terms with in the coming years. But I think we are having the right conversations to get from where we are today to where we hope to go. So thank you, and I appreciate everyone who made today possible.
Great. I thought this was a fantastic discussion. I appreciate it. I appreciate my colleagues asking their questions as well. I always learn something during these work sessions, so I'm grateful to have had the opportunity. I see this as a really terrific opportunity for us to fuel our economic recovery and also address climate change here in the city of Portland. So I think there are multiple benefits that the Clean Energy Fund provides to us as a community. I'd like to thank Commissioner Rubio and Director Oliveira, Sam Barrasso, Representative Pham, and the BPS staff members that did a lot of work in preparation for today's work session. Thank you for your time and energy. Jillian, thank you. I know that you put a lot of work into this, not just on behalf of Commissioner Rubio, but you answered a lot of questions that council members had prior to this. And I want to thank you for your continued commitment to this important work. As I mentioned during our recent budget discussions, I'm grateful for the collaboration that we were able to have with the PCEF committee for engaging in a community process to review and ultimately approve over $600 million over 5 years for City of Portland Bureau projects that align very clearly with the PCEF goals. This was an unprecedented partnership. I hate to use that word again, but the truth is we don't have this kind of a significant community-based collaboration that addresses multiple goals simultaneously. And I really appreciate the continued dialogue that we have both had and that we will continue to have around the current PCEF fund allocations and the ways that the council can engage with and support that programming. Again, many thanks. Representative, I'll let you have your say, and then we'll let Commissioner Rubio close this out.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I'm very heartened to be here and see how this program, which started as a dream amongst community members, communities of color, low-income communities, and really, frankly, the whole city really takes ownership. And you can see many of them who came out today for 2 hours to sit without having the opportunity for public testimony, just to show their support. So I want to thank all the community members who came out today to listen. I can just feel the sense of pride and ownership and joy that PCEF, the real pride that PCEF represents about this is the best that PCEF, best of Portland's values that are embodied of equity and climate action. And I guess I'll just say that I really appreciate the word collaboration. I think the community wants to be a partner in this work. We know that this program is going to evolve with the times. And at the same time, community just wants to be a partner with council in determining the direction of the program as we chart the path forward for equitable climate action. So thank you.
Thanks, Representative. Appreciate you being here. Commissioner Rubio, you get the last word.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, First, I just want to thank Director Oliveira and Sam and Ruth for the presentation. And thank you so much, Representative Pham, for being here and for giving that really important origin story history. It's really important to frame because we're talking about implementation and budgets and procurements, but we got to remember what the intent of this and the story behind this was to get us to this point. I think it's also important to remember that this is essentially a startup. I mean, this just really was, created just a few short years ago, and already we've had incredible impacts from this fund, from building capacity to having significant and consequential impacts on our proposed budget that we're talking about today. And I feel like the team and the committee have done really important work to get us to this place. I hear the questions of my colleagues, and I also just want to lift up something that the presenters mentioned, that, we're constantly evolving and recalibrating and learning from, what had just taken place so that we can apply those learnings to the future and strengthening those systems as we move forward. So one thing I do want to encourage is that and really applaud PCEF staff and Donnie and his team for being very available to council. And so if there's one thing that I would encourage my colleagues is to please keep your meetings with PCEF and with BPS and Director Oliveira, because it is in this in-between time that you can go deep and get your questions answered and potentially shape some aspects moving forward. So instead of it, having to wait until we build pressure at the end, I strongly encourage my colleagues to continue to stay actively participatory in the conversation in the meantime. And so, again, just thank you for your incredible work here. Thank you to the community for having that vision and for having the tenacity to create this fund, and for the voices that hold us all accountable to its original intent around climate justice. And finally, just thank you to the mayor and his team for creating the space for a collaborative table on this budget. So with that, thanks again, everyone.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.